A family member of someone who was in prison with Todd Chrisley has revealed how the father really was while he was locked up. Fans have been dying to know if Todd was nice or if he caused problems while in federal prison. Well, the family of someone who was in there with him has spoken out on Todd's character and how he treated fellow prisoners. There is a lot to unfold and uncover when it comes to this. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Todd Chrisley was in federal prison for about 2 years before he was pardoned by Donald Trump. He tried to stay drama-free while he was locked away. However, he did have to put someone in their place. One of the prisoners was talking badly about Savannah and what she was doing to try and get her parents released. Todd revealed that he went off on the dude and threatened him. This was the only altercation Todd had with someone. However, after he threatened the other prisoner, it never happened again. Fans have been wondering if anything else happened. Chase Chrisley has revealed what a prisoner's family member had to say about Todd Chrisley and how he was in prison. The family had all good things to say about Todd and the kind of person he was. Chase was not shocked in the slightest that this is what people had to say about his father. It seems as though Todd was a great guy while in prison. However, this did not shock Chase at all because he claims this is what kind of person his father is. Fans loved hearing that people had positive things to say about Todd and how he was in prison. While Todd admitted to putting someone in their place while locked up, he was overall a good guy the entire time. What do you think about this situation? Are you surprised that Todd was that nice to other people? Sound off in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this situation. The steel doors of FPC Pensacola had closed behind countless men, bankers, smugglers, tax evaders, and ex-public figures with glossy smiles that cracked the moment anonymity kicked in. Among them was one Todd Chrisley, the once celebrated patriarch of a reality TV dynasty, who walked in wearing tailored khakis and invisible pride. But what he encountered inside wasn't judgment or fear. It was a system of survival. And at the center of that system was a group of men bonded not by blood, but by shared time. The prison family. They weren't an official gang. They weren't on paper. But in the world of long corridors, lights that never dimmed, and guards who stared through you, the prison family kept their own ledger of trust. Comprised of inmates from various backgrounds, some reformed, some resigned, they had one unspoken rule. You earn your place, and you don't fake your way into it. At first, Todd was an outsider. He was watched, not for fame, though some recognized him, but for his energy. Some inmates expected arrogance, entitlement. Others anticipated a meltdown. But what they got? Something far more complicated. The first week, Todd kept his head down, struggling to trade celebrity manners for institutional routine. He flinched at clanging trays, oversmiled at gruff men who ignored him, and whispered silent protests when handed grimy clothes. It wasn't long before the members of the family took notice. Royce, a former military contractor doing time for fraud, was the first to mention it. He watched Todd sweep the hallway outside their block, pausing every few minutes to adjust his mop grip like he was holding a golf club. He's performing for someone who ain't here, Royce thought, but didn't say aloud. Then there was Devlin, a wiry ex-hacker with restless eyes and a love for chess. He saw how Todd lingered near the rec room, pretending to read while eavesdropping on conversations, always searching for an anchor. By the end of month 1, the walls around Todd started to crack, and the family began to see the real man behind the manicured image. He wasn't weak. That became clear when he stood up to a guard who insulted another inmate's weight, calmly, firmly, with a courtroom coolness that silenced the pod. He wasn't snobbish either. When his commissary finally came through, he shared it with the youngest inmate on their tier, a scared 19-year-old who hadn't received mail in weeks. But perhaps most surprising was how Todd responded to punishment. One Friday night, after a verbal altercation over meal rotations, he was put on cleaning duty for a week straight. He didn't complain. He just scrubbed. Every day. Shower stalls, benches, stair rails, until the other inmates quietly moved to help without being asked. The prison family began to let him in. He never asked to join. That was key. He didn't beg favors or fake stories. Instead, Todd started contributing in unexpected ways. He organized the library cart. He fixed a broken water spout in the communal sink
without fail,
and he'd help Devlin lead a small prayer circle in the laundry room, not preaching, but just being there. It wasn't long before the family noticed something else. Todd was unraveling, but in a good way. The posture softened. The TV charm ebbed. What remained was a man grappling with shame, longing, and a fractured sense of who he'd been before the gates. Late at night, Royce overheard him pacing, muttering names. Savannah, Chase, Julie. Sometimes he stood by the glass window in the rec room, staring at the moon like it held answers. To Devlin, it was obvious. He's grieving his old self. He once wrote in a journal. And strangely, that makes him more human than the man we saw on TV one afternoon. During a rare storm that pounded Pensacola in angry bursts, the inmates were confined to their units. The power flickered. Tension brewed. Someone in the corner pod had a panic attack. Without fanfare, Todd climbed off his bunk, knelt beside the man, and helped slow his breathing. He didn't offer therapy. He just held his hand. Later, the family held a quiet vote. Todd was in. From that moment on, things shifted. Royce taught him how to make spread from ramen and cheese curls. Devlin challenged him to a standing chess match every Thursday. A silent man called Boone even handed over his worn copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, underlining passages in pencil that read, "All human wisdom is contained in these two words, wait and hope." Todd read it cover to cover. Twice. In return, he gave what he had, structure. He proposed rotating jobs to keep cells cleaner. He convinced two feuding inmates to hash things out over dominoes instead of fists. And every time someone received bad news, whether it was a denied appeal or a death in the family, Todd was there with a quiet nod and a card made from scrap paper. But perhaps the most revealing moment came when Todd was offered a spot in a documentary being shot for inmate rehabilitation. Cameras. Exposure. The world calling again. He declined. He didn't want to be seen like that. Not yet. Not by the outside. Not when the inside was still healing. That act sealed something. Even the guards noticed. One referred to him offhandedly as the mayor, a nickname that stuck, much to Todd's embarrassment. Behind closed doors, though, Todd still struggled. Nights were hardest. Letters from home arrived unevenly. Holidays stung. But the family created their own rituals, card games, bunk decorating contests, even a makeshift Thanksgiving with Nutri loaf stuffing. It wasn't joy, not really, but it was something like grace. When Todd's 6-month review came, the warden himself noted an exemplary transformation of attitude, leadership, and interpersonal skill. It was rare praise, but for the family, the report didn't matter. What mattered was this. One night, 2 months before parole review, Todd sat with Royce on the bench outside the laundry building. It was cold. The kind of cold that crept through the cotton of prison-issued sweatshirts. Todd had a folded piece of paper in his hand. He passed it to Royce. On it was a list, names of every man in the family, and beside each name, a note. Devlin, brilliant and brave. Boone, silent but deep. Royce, the backbone. At the bottom was a message. If I ever see a camera again, I'll talk about the real stars, the ones who taught me who I actually am. Todd folded his hands and looked up at the sky. Royce didn't reply. He just nodded and stayed beside him until lights out. Months later, when Todd finally left FPC Pensacola, the family didn't throw a farewell party. They didn't need to. They left small things on his bunk. A matchbox chess set from Devlin, a paper origami swan from Boone, a bag of stale but treasured M&Ms from the commissary, and taped to the underside of his mattress was a single message written in pencil on a scrap of cardboard. Wait and hope, Mayor. We got your back. The gates opened. Todd stepped into sunlight, older, quieter, changed. Cameras would find him again. So would fans and rumors. But what they'd never see, what only the family knew, was the man who'd swept floors with dignity, wept beside bunkmates, and earned a new kind of fame.